NerdBacon podcast, and I've been thinking about Microsoft getting into the streaming game, and freak out, Nintendo. Oh yeah, trying to get a new Nintendo Switch. It's kind of like We Told You So, and the Wall Street Journal confirmed it. I don't know what voice I'm doing now, but oh yeah, first name Macho, last name Man.
Trying to figure out what is that voice.
Let me get to it first. Freak out, man. Yeah.
It doesn't sound like anything I'm familiar with.
I threw my back out. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we are here on... God, my back hurts. The NerdBacon podcast. We're live and well. Welcome to the stream, everybody. My name is Jeff Roth with NerdBacon.com.
And I'm Dave the Watchman with NerdBacon.com.
And I'm Level Up Justin with NerdBacon.com.
Holy crap, it's Justin.
Yay!
Well, hello.
Welcome
You've been
back.
on hiatus. You've been on hiatus for like at least a fortnight. Oh God, don't say fortnight.
Oh, you had to go there.
Oh my God, I hate myself. And Kiko says, welcome back. Yeah,
Hey,
we're
Kiko.
here. We are ready. We are live at twitch.tv/nerdbacon, mixer.com/nerdbacon, YouTube/nerdbacon, and all your audio needs as far as Spotify, Anchor, Podbean, Stitcher, any other words that I'm forgetting. Anywhere you can get audio podcasts, we're probably there. Just find us.
Lots of words.
And as you can see, there's a fourth person hanging out here. We're going to spend a lot of the meat of today's podcast, the bacon of the podcast, if you will. Yes, Dave, I read your marathon emails.
Good.
The bacon of today's podcast will be about professional wrestling because WWE 2K19 is officially out for everybody. I was able to get about 6 to 8 hours of it in because I bought the deluxe edition. I could play early. I spent some time with it, and if we can talk wrestling, we call in a ringer. We're all experts, but we'll concede this one. My very good friend of the site, from the Pro Wrestling Mothership Network, the editor-in-chief, the voice of everything Midwestern professional wrestling, Dustin Smothers. Dustin, how are you, my friend?
I am doing great. That was a fantastic introduction. I am very, very thankful for that. But I'm doing good, man, and thank you for having me on. This is really cool.
I forgot the metal mouth of the Midwest.
Well, the braces are actually coming off later this year, so I'm gonna have to come up with a new nickname. I'm not quite sure.
We gotta repackage the gimmick, right?
Yep. I gotta rebook. I gotta rebook the territory, so to speak.
No, I was very happy, very lucky to be on your show a couple times for 2K's past and talking with you guys on your show, and we're more than happy to cross pollinate and have a little bit of the brands. Worlds collide, if you will.
Yes. No, and it's been good. I've been very busy lately. I've actually been a little bit out of the game, so to speak. I haven't been podcasting as much, so it's good to be a guest on something. Hopefully, it kind of gets me back in the right direction to putting out more content.
That's what we do. We inspire people to do great things.
Absolutely.
People helping people.
Right.
So are you still watching wrestling these days, or are you kind of out of that game? Okay.
No, it's I just, not to be all boring and stuff, but I got a brand new big boy job this summer, and it's taken a lot more of my free time than I originally thought it would. So I've just put the podcasting on the back burner just a little bit, and I got engaged a couple of months ago. So there's been a lot of things happening. Yay!
Yes.
I still do a few here and there. I do a weekly podcast for Capital Wrestling out of Hoboken, New Jersey.
Oh, okay.
Actually, they've got a big show coming up this weekend if you're in the area. 301 Garden Street in Hoboken, New Jersey. Check out Capital Wrestling. I do some other things with some local independents here. Do some commentating as well. So I've got my fingers and my toes dipped in everything. But yeah, just the podcasting.
Nice.
Took a back seat lately.
Have you done commentating for 3X Wrestling?
I have never commentated for 3X.
Okay. All right.
I've actually done commentary though for Impact Pro Wrestling.
Okay.
Which runs at the Forte Conference Center there in downtown Des Moines, and I actually was lucky enough to call the entire Hall of Fame Classic show in Waterloo this year.
Oh, crazy!
Like Brian Cage, Austin Aries won it, so I got to call the Austin Aries final versus it was Austin Aries versus Colt Cabana, which you can find that on YouTube right now.
Wow,
pretty cool. I've been blessed, and the best part is I've been blessed enough that I can jump in and out of it, and people know that I don't get paid a lot for what I do, so they understand, and so it's a good community and a lot of great friends. And Jeff, you've been to shows locally. I know we've ran into each other, and between that and the Wrestling Revolver, it's just a great time to be a local wrestling fan here in the state of Iowa.
Sure. And people can check the Pro Wrestling Mothership network of podcasts, include the Pro Wrestling Iowa podcast. They had the Brady A Desire show. They had the Bells in the Cell. So there's plenty of great shows from different vantage points on professional wrestling. If you're a fan of wrestling, go check out the Pro Wrestling Mothership. But for God's sake.
And I should throw in, just because I'm not podcasting doesn't mean that people aren't still podcasting for my network. There's still several shows coming out every week. I've just not been as active on my own network, but that's what the boss does, I suppose, right?
Exactly.
There you go.
You're sitting up top,
But that's cool, though, that it's kind of this whole conglomerate, and you've got all these different shows under the same banner. That's really awesome.
That is really cool.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's exceeded my expectations. And I know, talking to Jeff, over the last few years, I started this as I thought it would just be a hobby. Nobody would listen to it. And next thing I know, I'm doing commentary. And I've got people contacting me wanting to put their show on the network. So, I guess in a way, I've built up something that I can sit back and kind of hang out with. Now we just got to get the money rolling in.
It's always,
but
it's fun to kind of see the two brands, the Mothership and NerdBacon and anything that we got involved with, kind of grow in parallel lines, because we're the same way too. Where we're just podcast having fun, making friends, making a community, and meanwhile we're going to Evo and rubbing elbows with the higher ups in the industry and getting interviews, getting exclusives, getting review codes. We're able to we're ascending the ladder to retrieve the briefcase, as it were.
Getting elbow rash.
Yeah.
You may want to see a doctor, Dave.
Terrible.
That's the good thing too about, like, with me, I've been given opportunities to do podcasts for other companies. Like the Wrestling Revolver and Capital Wrestling reached out to me and wanted me to do their show. So there's a lot of things that have evolved out of this evolution. More evolution has taken place already in my 2 years on the show than any promotion for Evolution has taken place on the actual WWE channel.
And Evo Evolution. Dave, go ahead. You had a comment there.
Oh, I was just saying, we've got Jack joining us on YouTube here. He threw out the first wrestling game of the night from memory. We'll talk about this. We're going to get to the wrestling in a little bit, but
thank you, Jack,
this is a game I forgot about. WCW Backstage Assault.
The worst wrestling game ever made.
Let's not go with the hot takes yet. Let's let that marinate.
It's not a hot take. It's a cold fact.
Let's put a bunch of stuff in a pot and let that be like a thought bubble curry, so it's like nice and spicy when we're ready to get into the meat of it.
Like gazpacho soup you serve cold?
Yeah.
That's Backstage Assault.
Jack says it was a misunderstood game. It was my first wrestling game ever, and I went nuts bashing people's heads in with a microwave.
Hey, you always remember your first. There's that rule of every Mario Kart. Everyone's favorite Mario Kart was the first one they played. Backstage Assault, a lot of ads for Surge, I remember.
Yes.
Everywhere.
Well, Surge is back. Surge is back, so I don't know. I mean, maybe we can get this remastered and re-updated and put out on the PlayStation Network.
That's right. But again, oh god, I played on the 64. That was bad. Anyway, fellas, let's before we get to the wrestling, let's hit some heavy notes in the world of video gaming. I know, Dave, we had talked last week about Google kind of being the first to throw their hat into this dystopian streaming future that we're going towards, and we're going head first into.
All of your content does not belong to you.
Exactly, because you're going to be streaming it all.
Right.
And you're going to get your hands on Project Stream here very soon, because you got invited into the beta.
Yes, I'm really excited. Like right before we went on air, I got invited to the Project Stream beta, so I am looking forward to checking that out.
But now Microsoft is officially throwing the gauntlet down as far as the big name video game companies with their streaming service. Now, I got to get the name of this right. It's Project xCloud. Somebody give me these delicious, juicy details.
All right, so Microsoft, we had talked about this going all the way back into, I think, May of this year, sometime before E3.
Yeah, it was pre-E3.
We talked about Microsoft and how their master plan they've been laying out this master plan for the past several years. And when you took a look at the plan, just the separate pieces of this plan, it didn't look like much. You didn't realize what was going on. But now that we've stepped back and we've start seeing these pieces coming together, Microsoft is quite clearly the company that has positioned itself the best for next generation. So streaming has been part of this, and we've been talking about this since May of this year, that Microsoft was preparing to launch, they're preparing to transition the Xbox brand away from being perceived as something just attached to hardware into something that was a service, and streaming would be key to that. So they alluded to that. They straight up said that they were going to launch a streaming service during E3 this year. And then just this past week, they officially announced that they're going to launch what they're calling Project xCloud. I don't think that'll be the final name, although
that won't stick.
xCloud might end up being the final name. But basically what they wanted... Yeah, xCloud! That would be great if X-Pac were the official spokesperson.
No, it wouldn't. No, you don't want to get the xCloud heat.
Anyway, so just like Google Stream, well, actually a little bit more expanded than Google's Project Stream, Project xCloud aims to allow you to stream AAA console experiences to any device, whether you're playing on a PC or you're playing on a cell phone with a controller. Doesn't matter. Yep. All that matters is your internet or your wireless connection, and if you have the controller. If not, that you've got like simplified touch controls that you can use, like if you're playing on a tablet or on a phone. Probably aren't going to work out too well with the touch controls, but
no, sure.
It's a step up from what Google has promised, at least right now, with their Project Stream, which is a similar thing, but right now it's only for PCs through your Google Chrome browser.
Right. So
it's very interesting. Yeah, it's starting to test, I think, limited right now, and then they're going to roll out a public beta in January. But this is a huge moment for Microsoft and really for the industry at large.
Right.
I don't think streaming is going to take over with this upcoming generation. But like Ubisoft's president, Yves Guillemot, has said before, he thinks that this coming console generation is going to be the last one, and streaming is going to take over after that. And with Google getting into the streaming game and Microsoft getting into the streaming game, and Sony's got to do something to get PlayStation, PlayStation Now?
Yeah, because now you can download that stuff and play it offline. So they're making the progresses towards Game Pass. So now the train's going on the same tracks, but they're getting stations later.
Right. So it'll be really interesting to see when Microsoft rolls this test out, like what kind of games that they're going to have at launch and what they use as their test game. Project Stream from Google is using Assassin's Creed Odyssey, the new one, as its test game. So it'll be very interesting to see what Microsoft does. The real test, of course, is going to be how will fighting games hold up on a streaming service.
Because latency, input lag, you need to have that snappiness. If I hit a button, I want to punch something.
Yeah.
I think what they'll do for their test game is Forza Horizon 4 or something kind of racing game. Racing games have always been kind of the test games for, at least for new graphics cards. They've always been, a new Forza would come out, or if a new console comes out, Ridge Racers have always been in Sony's launch lineup for, however long. But they can always use racing games to showcase the power or the capabilities of a new service. So I imagine Forza Horizon 4 or some Forza stuff will be what they use. And if I can play Forza Horizon 4 on this thing, that will blow... I'm holding my phone up for those in the audio stream. That will blow me away if I can play Forza on my phone.
Yeah, I mean, it would make the most sense to...
who's talking? Oh, it's Justin.
Hey. It would make the most sense to have something like a racing game, like you said, a Forza Horizon, or even a Forza Motorsport, like whatever the next Forza game is. Have that be the next... the game that's kind of tested out, because I wouldn't want to think they'd want to try it with, say, like the next Halo game or like you said, a fighting game. Give it something that like, doesn't necessarily have to be as precise right away. But the thing is that's what we're all going to be looking for, because everything's headed toward that way in the future. Like, we're all looking for the games to be 1-in-1, just like we can do here at home, but over, an internet connection. Granted, if someone's going to their local coffee shop and throwing up, like you said, on your phone with a controller, they may not have the best connection. That'll be interesting to see, like, what kind of connection you're going to need to be able to stream these games. So it'll be cool to see and cool to try out. I definitely I'm excited to hear Dave's thoughts on Google's service, but especially when Microsoft's comes out, to see what maybe differences and similarities that brings. And like you said, Sony's just kind of hitting those train stations or those stops along the way, just maybe a little bit behind. And that's just based on the positioning. They were in the win now category, where, like you said, Dave said, Microsoft has now positioned themselves for maybe a win later. So. Right.
Dustin, let me get you in here in just a second. I just want to say, to answer your question as far as what type of internet connection, I know Google's Project Stream is saying 25 megabytes.
Okay.
Which is pretty... Yeah. It's pretty standard.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure what Project xCloud was asking for at this time.
Right.
I just want to say we've got 2 new Baconeers joining us from Mixer. We've got Jay Carmichael 1966 and Space 184. Thanks so much for the follows on Mixer. Welcome to the Nerd Bacon podcast.
Smell the bacon cooking.
Dustin's as our guest. I just want to ask you, how do you feel about the concept of not really owning a physical device and just playing all of these games over the internet? Do you think that that's something that's appealing to game players, or is that, or are you old school like us and you're like, give me a disc?
Right. No, I'm just now getting used to buying all my music online, digitally. I've been a big, here, I'll actually just really quick, I can turn this over and show you guys. That is my DVD collection.
Oh, wow.
Like, I am insane about physical media. So the idea of getting to a point where all video games are streamed, while I accept the inevitability of it, I would not be opposed to holding on as long as I possibly can. And I do think that, I live in a smaller community. I have one internet service provider that I can pick from. And when I play games online, I already still have issues with connections timing out and people not necessarily, you play against somebody and their connection goes out. So to add streaming the entire game to that situation, for me, sounds a little bit rough. And how mad would you be if you're in the middle of some sort of conquest and your internet goes out, and next thing you know, everything you've done for the last hour or two is null and void if you're not a saver. Wow, there's a lot of things that concern me with it, but I also accept the inevitability. Like I said, I know there'll be a day when I have to get all my movies to stream, which bothers me because I don't like the idea of paying money and then having, tomorrow something could happen. You talked about it being a dystopian future.
Sure.
What if all of that content gets compromised? Like, I'm still not sold on companies' ability to keep my information and everything protected, private, and that goes hand in hand with keeping the content that I've purchased available to me at all times.
That's a really good point. We just had Google Plus got shut down because of a huge data breach, and Facebook had a huge data breach that came out in the news today. That's a really good point, though, about, are you always going to be able to have access to this game that you've paid for to stream through this service? That's one of the reasons why I've never signed on to Kindle. I will always prefer having a physical, good old-fashioned book over an electronic device. And there was actually a case, I want to say, this might have been like a decade ago by now, but there was a case where there was a version of George Orwell's 1984 that was put out, and then whoever published that version of it on Kindle lost that license. So Amazon removed the version of 1984, not just from the store, but from anybody's Kindle who had that version. They removed it. So your version of 1984 was no longer available, which was ironic, of course.
So then look at, like, we just before we went live, we talked about, we just briefly mentioned the Nintendo Online service and them coming live with an online service. So let's just say we go into this future and you have games and Nintendo, like the ones Nintendo offer. So Nintendo offers all these 20, 25-year-old games or more because, they're classics. We all want to play them. But then at what point, like when we get into like Microsoft and Sony, especially with a lot of these games, I look in my library that sits behind me. It's tucked away right now. But you look at a game like, say, like a game that's really insanely popular, like an old Fallout game. What if you buy that, had bought that digitally, it gets taken away, so what, you can't play it anymore, you just lose it. Like what if you want to revisit it, 20 years down the line? It's not like you can go back and play Mega Man 2, which you can now. So that's what scares me too. Like I just don't want it to, like you guys were just talking about, take a license away. Oh, so now I'm just out that amount of money. I mean, I get it, but on the flip side, it's inevitable. It's coming. It's something that we're all seeing. So
it takes away part of the experience too. I think there's still an experience about like going to your store at midnight to pick up a game that you've been waiting for. You've pre-ordered
Red Dead Redemption 2, man.
Exactly. And what does this do to what does this do to GameStop and places that resell games, or what does this do to the market for old video games? I mean, is that, do people no longer, if everything is streaming, there's no need for any of that? I don't know. This is it's really interesting.
We kind of mentioned that on an old show as well. We talked about like the future of GameStop and how Amazon might be getting involved or somebody else might get involved with purchasing. Because, GameStop, was on that brink there earlier this year. Where they had the new CEO or whatever, then he quit like within like weeks or months or whatever it was.
Because he learned everybody's going to streaming and digital.
Right.
He's like, nope.
So then you see GameStop now they're offering like, hey, you can trade in your old, Nintendos and PlayStations, and they're going to start selling the retro stuff again. On top of all the stuff, the Think Geek and all the Deadpool stuff that they bring in. So
Funko Pops.
Yeah. So hey, I got mine right up.
Dustin is keeping them in business by having the Funko Pops.
Oh my god.
Me too. Yeah.
How many do you have?
I don't have any idea. I don't have my number, but
I mean 396.
That is insane.
Christmas is coming, boys, and that little collection there is going to get a lot bigger.
Yeah.
My biggest worry about streaming is that when they shut the server down, because obviously, like, keeping these things running costs money and manpower, or woman power, let's be, all here. But at some point down the road, will those get shut down? And at that point, I just lose access to everything that I paid for.
Well, right. Yeah. Well, if there's DLC involved,
right.
Right.
What if you did put a little extra? Maybe it was free to play to begin with, but then a game goes, it's all those questions are all things that still have to be answered.
Sure.
If I want to go back and play one of my favorite games to just sit back and play, even to this day, like every once in a while, I'll just toss it in, like the old Left 4 Dead games. Yeah. So I can throw Left 4 Dead 1 or 2 in and play, even if I just have a few friends over, we just play real quick. And it's backwards compatible on Xbox now. But what if that streaming was that here then? And Valve just decided, we're going to take the license away because we can.
Or when a license expires, like I think like Marvel vs. Capcom 2, that wasn't on. That's no longer available on the Xbox store or the PlayStation store.
All those Midway games that went down when Midway went bankrupt before they got bought up by I think Atari bought some of that, or Infogrames was some of that. Right. Midway went down, like Smash TV was off there, Mortal Kombat 3 was off there, like all those Midway games were gone.
Yeah.
And you only could get them if you already had purchased them before.
So I think I think it's a big concern.
What's the company that just went out of business? And
Telltale.
Telltale.
People had already pre-bought the entire final story for The Walking Dead, and I don't know if they've figured out a resolution to that yet.
They're going to finish that because they partnered with what's that company called that makes all the cards? It's Sky.
Yeah.
Sky something.
Yeah.
But that company is helping them finish the last season. So it will get finished, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, I get mad enough that I can't play games I bought in the PlayStation 3 store on my PlayStation 4.
Sure.
So I don't know how I would feel about, if a streaming service, if I spend all this money on games, I would be more okay with a streaming service if I was paying like a flat fee for a year and I could stream any game I wanted. I'm not into the idea of buying specific games and then potentially having that right to stream that revoked later on.
So you want more of a Netflix of gaming as opposed to a la carte.
Yeah, well, I mean, to an extent, I would get it if there's certain games that aren't available. Like if you really want to play Red Dead Redemption 2, you're going to have to buy it. If you want to wait 6 months, it'll be available on the service. There's ways they could do that.
You're right. And like Game Pass on Xbox is a great example of what a Netflix service for gaming could be. It's not perfect, but it's on its way. And I think
it's a lot better than what Sony has right now.
Yeah, agreed. And it's a lot. I think it's even a lot better than what Nintendo offers right now. So I think Dustin's right. There's a lot of things that they could do going forward to offer people that want to buy either a physical copy or, like you said, a deluxe edition. Because then we lose the statues, or do we? Because I guess I just thought about that too. Because then you get into those collector's editions, you're starting to see some that don't come with the game. So I don't know. You get some weird, stuff going on now. Yeah,
I think you can still have them. Like let's just say God of War 2 or whatever can come with this giant Kratos statue or whoever the protagonist is in God of War 2. And it just comes with a download code or a code you punch into your streaming service and you just have access to the game. So you can still do physical stuff. It'll just come with a code as opposed to a disc.
I think that you could do a situation where maybe like you pay $39.99 a month for the streaming service, and then games need to be lowered in price. I think your companies are making enough on the streaming rights that maybe a game, instead of being $60, is $25. That's probably too low, but that to me, there's got to be some balance and fairness. The trade-off for exchanging the right to actually own it versus being able to just have access to it.
Sure. I think EA Access is doing this pretty well. EA Access Origins Premier Part 2, Electric Boogaloo, Super EX Alpha, whatever. But you pay $15 a month or $100 a year, and you get access to the top tier versions. I have the Madden Hall of Fame edition. I had the Battlefield 5 Deluxe edition. I had the FIFA 19, and then you can, if you want to own that, you can buy it for a discounted price, just so you can own it. That way, if you do cancel your subscription, you still have it. So I think that's a smart way of doing it, and Game Pass does this too. Right. It's $10 a month, but if you want to buy it, you get a discounted price off it. That way, if you do cancel Game Pass, you still have access to it.
Or they take a game off Game Pass, because they, just like Netflix, they'll cycle a game off every now and again. But with Game Pass, it's $9.99 a month, and you get the first party games are all part of that. So if you want to play Forza 4, which just came out, you get that as part of its service. So
and it's very good. And when Halo comes out, guess what? I'm paying $0 because I have Game Pass.
Right.
Well, I'm sure when Project xCloud officially launches, that's going to get rolled into some tier of Game Pass service.
I was just going to say, I wonder if there's going to be a tiered service.
I think a lot of our questions on this future will be answered in this little project here with Google and with Microsoft getting both into the game. A lot of our questions, at least we'll have answers, and we'll maybe have some different questions coming out of this.
Well, I think we'll have some answers coming up in November with Microsoft's XO18 conference.
I agree.
November 10th through 11th in Mexico City. And we, of course, NerdBacon will be live streaming all the big announcements. So watch
all
along
eyes
with
on Microsoft.
Us. Yeah, we'll see what they have to say about Project xCloud and whether Scarlet gets revealed and
xCloud.
What xCloud? What other kind of cool
what's up
stuff?
with all these X? The letter X. Like, remember it was the Nintendo NX, and now it's xCloud.
X is just a popular letter now.
X Games.
Yeah.
X Force. X-Men.
Everything's just X gonna give it to you.
That's right. There's your theme song for the stream, Dave. Go.
All right. Well, let's move on.
Censored version, of course.
Yeah.
What's next on the list there, Jeff?
Well, we talked Microsoft. Let's talk Nintendo. Let's talk about how NerdBacon It's a bunch of beautiful geniuses.
Well, I don't know about that, but
The Wall Street Journal confirming what NerdBacon already told you. This is old news now because we told you so. Nintendo is planning a revision of the Nintendo Switch. All you haters, all you people on Twitter, all you people who claimed that was hashtag fake news and were coming at us with, barrels loaded and smoking guns. Guess what? We were right.
They were coming in hot.
We're not lying. Nintendo is planning a revision of the Switch, which internally is called the Nintendo Switch S, which we are assuming is probably not what it would get called when it'll be launched. It might be, but probably not.
Maybe.
Coming out as soon as next year. We're thinking it's coming out next year, and most likely next year.
Yeah, it's definitely next year.
But nana boo boo, haha, told you so.
Well, I don't know if I want to take that attitude. Let's just say we've got
I am.
Well, don't. We've got
your back, Dave.
You know what?
You whore.
I'm not taking credit. I have excellent sources, and I get told some details and get a green light to write and break a story. So hey, I take that opportunity.
We're like the Dave Meltzer of video game reporting.
I just
like good inside sources.
With less misogyny.
Right.
and less stars.
Right.
So anyway, Wall Street Journal has gotten wind of, as you said, Jeff, what NerdBacon and Marcus Sellers had first broken back in August. Nintendo is working on an upgraded revision to the Nintendo Switch. I think there's a debate right now among the Switch cultists as to whether it is going to be an upgraded version or if it's just going to be like a Switch Lite or just a revised version. It's an upgraded version. Nintendo, from what we've been told as far as the specs, is looking at an upgrade to the Tegra processor. But most intriguing is that they're looking at a custom version, a new GPU basically, and it's going to be a customized version of NVIDIA's Pascal GPUs, and it's going to be based basically about somewhere between a GeForce 1050 and a 1060. So
as an owner of a 1060, that thing rocks.
That would be great. I'm betting that's not what it's going to be, though.
No, but if they can get to that level of quality, I can say, like, if that's the bar, then I will say that bar is pretty good.
Right.
So I have a 1060 or something like the laptop version. For what I've noticed, it's great. So if Nintendo can get to that, like Jeff said, that'd be pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's going to be PlayStation 4 or above. Yeah, Dustin.
So as an owner of a Nintendo Switch, what does this mean is the thing I have now a piece of junk?
Good question.
I think that the make good for this, the fact that Switch came out last year, which it was last year, correct?
2 years ago, wasn't it?
No, 2017.
Okay. Yeah, March 2017 is when Zelda and Switch came out. The make good here is that they give you a really good trade-in value for your Switch if you trade up to a Switch S or a Switch Pro, which I'm assuming they're going to call it.
Right.
And I'm okay if I can trade my Switch in and I pay $100 for the new Switch. Fine. But that's their make good, is give me an incentive to want to upgrade.
Sure.
I would.
Well, and then they make money because then they're going to sell all those old Switches.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So to that point, that's something that we wrote about in that original article in August, was that Nintendo was going to partner with a number of retailers to develop aggressive trade-in programs for those who wanted to trade in the original Switch for the Switch Pro. That's why finally moving into the modern age and developing a way to save your games via the cloud was of the utmost importance for launching Nintendo Online. Of course, kind of crummy that they tie it in with their subscription service, but that's neither.
And not all games use it.
Right. But the thing is, what was the next point? What I was going to point to in regards to Nintendo developing that trade-in program, it's very interesting that Nintendo's own Reggie Fils-Aimé was at GameStop's manager conference in person, not only to rally the retail troops, but also to have those behind closed doors meetings. What would they be talking about? Well, probably selling Switches this year and developing trade-in programs for Switch Pro Switch S.
I would say
Right.
look for Black Friday deals on Switches.
Well, actually, I've already seen some deals on Switches. Fries,
you?
I've seen $2.79 pretty consistently from Fries each day. So
And that's just console, no, not a game bundle, just a console bundle.
Right. So that's a really good point. I did not think about that, Jeff. You just found another clue. Right there. You just found another clue.
How beautiful I am.
No, think about it. All of the Switches that they're going to be selling, they're going to be selling bundles this year. They're going to be selling the Pokemon Let's Go bundle, or they're going to be selling the Smash bundle. But the non-bundled stuff, you're right. I didn't really think about it. That is getting cleared out.
Yeah, they're going to be lowering that price and like, or you'll see you may, like you said, you may see the buy a Switch and get one of these price tiered games.
Sure, and we've seen a lot of those deals
like
since E3 this year.
Yes. Yep. So,
wow.
You know, like last year, you had the Mario Odyssey bundle. You've had other games that were bundled in, but now they're going to do those two bundles, like you said, the Pokemon Switch or the Pokemon Pikachu and Eevee. Yep. You'll get those as a bundle. One of those is a bundle, or you get the Smash bundle, and then like everything else, it'll be some sort of bundle or price, not only for Black Friday but for the holiday season in general, which will help clear out stock and get prepared for a new SKU to drop on the store shelves.
Right, absolutely. So the other piece of news that we dropped this week was that internally Nintendo's referring to this upgraded version as the Nintendo Switch S. A lot of the internet's been calling it Switch Pro, but internally Nintendo's calling it the Switch S. Hiding in plain view, and I talked about this on last week's podcast, but hiding in plain view was the re-announcement of the port for Dragon Quest XI, which was reintroduced during the Tokyo Game Show as Dragon Quest XI S for the Nintendo Switch. Now, my original thought was maybe there are two different versions, and there still might be two different versions. One for the base Switch, which is downgraded significantly to be able to run on the base Switch, and then a straight-up port of what we have on PC and PlayStation 4, which is the Switch S. But the S, they were very coy in what the S meant, and they just assured people that, no, it doesn't mean small, but S is referring to the system that it's going to be on, which is the Switch S.
Correct.
So they also said that it stands for special and shabaru, which is a Japanese term for speaking and voice acting. So
that's called spin. S for spinning.
Right, but it's hidden among, as the article says, hidden among those list of explanations given as to the origin of the letter S in Nintendo's version of Dragon Quest XI is the fact that the game is being developed for the new Nintendo Switch S. It's an interesting twist considering Dragon Quest XI was the first... Who do we got here? We'll get in here in a second. Dragon Quest XI was the first title of... It's an interesting twist considering Dragon Quest XI was the first title officially announced for Nintendo's system back when the system was still known as the NX. And Chris Phoenix has just followed us on Mixer. So Chris Phoenix, thank you so much for following NerdBacon. Welcome to the NerdBacon podcast.
Also, via Twitch, Pro Wrestling Iowa is now following us on Twitch.
Hey!
Thanks, Dustin.
So the article also goes on to say to talk about how Nintendo is starting to view the Switch family of systems sort of like how Apple views their iPhones. They've got multiple versions of the iPhone that come out, a base model and then a deluxe with upgraded features. And that's what the Switch and the Switch S are going to be like.
Right.
It's interesting. We're hearing a lot of these companies starting to talk about the family of consoles.
Right.
Microsoft is doing the same thing.
Nobody left behind.
Yeah, we haven't really gotten there with Sony yet, but again, they will. I would imagine they're getting to their train stops late. But it's interesting because, like you said, the family of consoles. So will there be just one new SKU, or there'll be two new SKUs? Like, how many consoles are we talking? Like, are they going to do a handheld only?
Well, I think Nintendo's going to go about it and release a new version of the Switch like every couple of years. And then it'll just phase out like the oldest version with each new revision. So games will play on both the Switch and the Switch S, for the time being. And then when they launch, the Switch X, how do you like that? So when they launch the Switch X in 2021,
X gonna give it to you.
Most games aren't going to be playable on the base Switch. So it'll be Switch S and Switch X. And then at that point, they can launch a Switch 2. I think that's how they're going to roll.
Or will they treat it sort of like the 3DS and the new 3DS, where they can work on both, but you get the better experience with the new one. There are some games that are made just for the new one, like that Xenoblade Chronicles. It's because it's more powerful, load times are faster. I imagine they'll look at that and go kind of that route with this family as well.
For most games, that's going to be true, but I do think that there are going to be some third-party games that are going to be exclusive to the Switch S. There are rumblings this week that Square Enix is looking to put Kingdom Hearts 3 on the Switch. Hey, that was
my list.
Yep. I was talking about that 2 years ago, that Square would look to put Kingdom Hearts 3 on the Switch. So that's a game that I don't think would run on the base Switch. I think that's going to be a Switch S exclusive.
Much like Overwatch.
Sure. Yes, exactly.
Right.
The more I think of that, the more that seems just inevitable that Overwatch will be on the Switch. And not just because they get the more powerful console, not because, Overwatch can theoretically run on current Switch, but it would work better on the S. And now Blizzard has this partnership because they're putting Diablo 3 on the Switch.
That was the big sign for me. I was going to say was Blizzard.
They're testing that to see how this runs before they put their flagship, Eater of Worlds, if I may, Overwatch on there, because it's going to happen.
Oh, reference.
Right. Dustin, how excited are you to buy another Switch?
If they do a trade-in deal and there's like if I see a real reason to do it,
there's a really bad storm. It's been raining here in Iowa for the past year. It seems like.
Yeah, I know.
I've had the sirens going on and off around these parts for tornadoes, so it's been kind of hit or miss. So bear with us. So okay, we're wrapping up the Switch S talk. Do you want to kind of put a bow on that, or do you want to go ahead and just say, hey, by the way, the PS5 is coming?
Let's say, hey, by the way, or I was going to segue into that. It was really clever because Dustin had mentioned something about... No, you're fine. Dustin had mentioned that he may never play another game after The Last of Us because it may wreck him. And my question is, are you going to play that on the PlayStation 4 or are you going to play that on the PlayStation 5?
Why is that?
As a PlayStation 5 launch game.
Ooh, okay. I'm here for it. I mean, I've been waiting for that. The PlayStation 4 is how old now? I mean, 6-7 years?
2013, so 5 years.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, maybe it's not as long. If it's going to take PlayStation 5 for them to actually give me that game and for them to actually give me Grand Theft Auto 6, I'm here for it.
Oh yeah, Grand Theft Auto 6 will be out at the end of next generation.
Yeah. Yeah, they're going to put all their time and effort into Red Dead 2 for the foreseeable future because they don't. Rockstar does not need to make a game ever again. Once Red Dead's done.
Yeah, I've heard that it's they continue to find ways to make money off that game online now. They just keep releasing content.
Yeah.
Which I need to. I made the mistake of trading that game in after I beat it, and I've many times almost purchased it again. I need to do that.
Right.
It's still good, man. Online is still a lot of fun. When I can find people to play, because I'm playing on PC, and when I can find people to play with, it's a lot of fun.
I say Rockstar goes back and does Midnight Club. I'm just kidding.
Boy, that would be fun, wouldn't it?
Actually, I did enjoy Midnight Club.
Give me Table Tennis 2 or give me Manhunt 3. Didn't Manhunt 3 actually happen? Manhunt 2 happened for the Wii. And then Manhunt 3.
So anyway, to kind of talk about why we're talking about PlayStation 5, IGN had published some comments from Sony earlier in the day today where they officially acknowledged that they were working on a next generation system. Now, this is the duh statement of all time. Of course, we know Sony's working on a next generation system. But this is the first time that they've publicly acknowledged it, so that's kind of a big deal. I just published an article last week talking about how PlayStation 5, because there's all this speculation, when is PlayStation 5 coming? The general consensus has been 2020. I'm saying it's out next year.
I say we've been thinking it was like at earliest maybe summer or fall of next year.
Right.
Fall holiday 2019.
I think the very latest we'll see it isn't fall of 2020. I think the latest we could see it is like the first quarter of 2020.
Yeah, like an early spring, kind of
Right.
like the Switch window for 2020.
There seems to be something going on that is making these hardware developers scramble to get stuff out in 2019. It's very interesting. Very interesting. And that's what I'm going to be working on later tonight, I think. But anyway, go check out that article. Basically, the one of the arguments was that the cancellation of PlayStation Experience this year is the absolute signal that that PlayStation 5 will be coming out in 2019. But there's plenty more.
The next generation is coming.
Yeah, it's here.
Oh, hey, Dave, where can people read the article at?
You can read that on the Mothership site here at NerdBacon.com. How do you like that? Yeah.
I like that. That's called a good promo.
All right.
Jeff, hi.
I believe you've been playing a little game.
I have.
Yeah.
You want to dive into the wrestling stuff?
Tell us about it.
Well, when I've put down the Forza Horizon 4, which by the way I still love Forza Horizon 4.
Oh wait, before you go into that, I should segue. Since it's wrestling, we should say, Jeff, why don't you bring us to our main event?
One fall.
Yes. Scheduled for
Ladies
one fall.
and gentlemen, this is Howard Finkel.
All right. That was
Anyway. I have been playing a little game called WWE 2K19. Now, I told myself to kind of wait on it because ever since 2K took over, the games have been complete crap.
I liked WWE 2K12.
It's been hit or miss every year.
Okay, when it was THQ, it was fine.
Okay.
Fine-ish.
Sure.
Here Comes the Pain was the last good WWE.
Oh, sure. Yeah, when the SmackDown games, and we'll get to those later on.
Yeah.
But since 2K took over, 2K15 was probably the worst. Okay, it was the worst in the series.
15?
15 was horrible. Because 15 is the one that had, like, when you first start, 15 was the one, I believe, that we started the match, you had to do these freaking, like, you had to move the sticks in a direction because you don't want to open fast, you want to, do these grappling maneuvers, you got to move the stick in the right direction and find the sweet spot, and I hated it so much.
Sure.
16 got better, but still wasn't great. 17 was, and they plateaued for a long time. 2K19 is finally starting to grasp what makes pro wrestling dumb. And let's all be real here. We're all fans of professional wrestling, but we all can admit pro wrestling is dumb. But it's in a good way, like in the best way possible. It's dumb. And like we've enjoyed this since we were kids. I grew up watching. I mean, my first WrestleMania was 7. It was the first time I remember anyway from my when I had motor skills back in the mid 90s. I was a kid in the 80s, but like Hogan, Savage, Warrior, they are what made me a wrestling fan.
Yep.
And it's dumb. When you look at it, it's dumb. And 2K19 is finally starting to turn that corner and saying, okay, yeah, we know it's dumb, so let's lean into this.
Right.
And it's for the first time since 2K took over, I don't actually hate playing it. It's not as much of a chore to actually play the game. Usually when I buy them, I go for universe mode. I'm there to kind of just see how good it looks and kind of make my own, my fantasy booking, the Jeff and Ross Fantasy Wrestling Federation, whatever. But this time I actually want to play it. Is it a good game? No. Question mark. But it's the best that 2K has put out.
Well, let's talk about what's the tasty part. What is compelling you? Because you say this is a bad game, is what you're saying. But what's compelling you to keep wanting to play it?
I wouldn't, but I don't think it's a bad game. That's the thing. Like it's not. It's in that fine line. Like if I were to give it like a initial score, I would say 6.5, 7. Like I have not dove into my career stuff or the the showcase stuff, but there's a lot of bacon to this game.
Yeah.
And that's what's compelling is that. What's
some of the bacon that you're seeing?
This is the best the game has ever looked.
Okay.
Like, by far. Even on a regular PS4, on my 1080 50-inch TV, it looks amazing. Like, the superstar, even the females. Like, last year, my biggest complaint was...
You mean they got Dana Brooke right, finally?
Oh, my gosh. She was horrible last year. Jesus. But no, she looks fine this year, okay? She looks good. But, like, everybody top-down looks tremendous. The offshoot of the side effect is that the Matt Hardy side effect. The side effect is that the created wrestlers, the gap between the on disc roster and the custom characters is a little bit wider. If you look harder at the created people, they look like mutants.
Oh, really? Interesting.
I have an EC3 that looks ridiculously bad. Because they just put like his face on the character and it looks nightmare fuel. Won't be a problem. He's DLC in the future. Won't be a problem.
So what's the hook then? Like Dave had asked you, and I don't know if we got like an exact thing, but what's the hook that's bringing it back? Just that it's fun? Is that what I'm gathering? That it's just fun this year?
Like, I can easily. It's not. It's always been complicated. There's always been too many meters and mechanics and stick wiggles, Twitch TOS, and all that stuff that it became a chore to play it. They took a lot of that out and made it much easier to just do what you want to do. There are still meters, there are still those stupid mechanics, but it's not as cumbersome as it used to be. If I want to put someone through a flaming table, I can more easily do it this year.
Okay, that's cool.
I thought putting people through tables has been more difficult than it ever has needed to be over the last few years.
Agree.
So.
Exactly.
I agree. Yeah, it should not be that difficult to grab a table and do whatever you need to do to get that. But like you said, it's just become more increasingly difficult. And the thing is that talking about 2K19 and any of the 2K games, they've tried to make it so much a simulation, like you said, with the toggles and the meters and the sticks, and so much a simulation that it got away from the like you said, the dumb and the fun.
Right.
And so it's cool to see that they brought that back. And
the changes they made to the core game modes are smart moves. Like Hell in a Cell, last year you had to go. If you want to break out of the cell, you had to only go in one direction. Now you have both those hard camera corners. If you do enough damage to them, you can just bust out. Hit L1, you're out of the cage. Climb up the cage, no problem. You can throw him off the cage a lot easier than you could last year. I played a couple of those matches. I had no problem as a downloaded Tommaso Ciampa putting Johnny Wrestling through the Hell in a Cell. It was a lot of fun. The animations look a lot cleaner too. The cell ones and the Hell in a Cell and the cage ones and the Hell in a Cell ones. The animations that they polish them. They look more natural. Sure, you still have your stupid glitches and bugs that are hilarious. Right. That shouldn't be there. But a lot of the animations are clean. Again, it looks great. I love what they've done with My Player. So My Player is you go in, you create your wrestler from scratch. Okay, let's start with the good stuff. It's basically Mortal Kombat.
Oh.
Because they've added what's called 2K Towers. And it is the Mortal Kombat Towers. So you have these daily towers, weekly towers, monthly pay-per-view towers, and that you play up the tower, earning points that you can use to get VC or tokens to buy packs. I'll get to that later. But those towers can change every day, every week, every month, and that's a cool thing. Also, they have the faction war, so you can be part of the NWO, Balor Club, DX, Evolution, whatever, and build points for your faction, and win gear, win wrestling attire, win skill points if your faction is the one that comes out ahead. So there's also online and offline mode of them as well. Road to Glory was kind of the big online thing last year. You had to play online if you want to qualify for the pay-per-view, and you get like a mask or something stupid at the end. You can play those towers. Those towers are offline. So you can play those, rank up your dude, level up your account, and still get the same experience and not have to play online against somebody, which is nice.
Huh.
Okay.
So that's a lot of fun, and I'm going to probably stream more of that tonight since I work tomorrow. So, but the card packs are still a big problem. So last year they had those big briefcases to unlock moves and entrances and hair pieces and whatever. Those are still there, and you have to unlock those with tokens, but it's just so cumbersome. Like, if you want to see what moves you unlock, you have to go into the move list, see which one you have, find the category that it's in. It's just, there's menu upon menu upon menu, and there's got to be a better way.
Maybe they could adopt like a system like Mario Kart 8. Whenever you unlocked something new, it shows you what you unlocked on the title screen next time you go back in there.
And you can, right, but you can, if you go to the moveset, you can see, like, recently acquired via those packs, but you can't equip them there. You have to know in what category is that move, and then go back to the first menu, find the category, and then find the move from a list of blacked out things.
Right.
So I kind of wish if you could go to that recently unlocked, you can then just go from there shortcut. That would be really helpful.
So while they made getting a flaming table easier, they made that part of the game harder.
And they made so getting into my player is a hassle. I think, Dave, you were watching this when I was doing it. Every time I hit a button, I got a new tooltip. I got a new help screen. Every time I did anything,
oh,
like,
no.
This is tree number 1. Oh, this is tree number 2. Oh, this is tree number 3. And yeah, the sphere grid from FF10 is now encroaching upon my wrestling. That's how you level up your character. You get abilities. You can get the ability to jump off a ladder by leveling up your dude and putting skill points into these 3 separate trees, which my eyes back of the head.
So what you're saying is Vince needs to buy New Japan Pro Wrestling so we can have all the Japanese dudes in there, and then we have like our moody anime characters, like Final Fantasy, because that's what the game's turning into.
They have this thing, I haven't messed with this yet, called Block Bodies, which is basically Minecraft characters.
Minecraft, yeah.
I found them on the download marketplace. I haven't used them yet. So that's part of the dumb stuff. You have the Minecraft characters, and you have Big Head mode, which is as dumb as it sounds and as glorious as it sounds too.
Kind of harkens back to the old NBA Jam.
Yeah.
Exactly. And if you can get the women with the big heads and just all the hair flying around, it is fantastic. And they don't care if the hands and the hair clips into the face. They stop caring. And I stopped caring too. I just want to have a dumb good time, and it was so much fun. I laughed uncontrollably because it looks so stupid. There's no way Jose, giant radish head, coming down to the ring, dancing and sambaing, and Aleister Black rising from his coffin, giant head, took up the entire screen. It's great. It's great.
So they're trying to bring that arcade or more fun wrestling experience or dumb wrestling experience into the simulation,
right?
And kind of trying to blend a little bit of, or blur the lines, so to say.
Another problem I have with it is that I think it's artificially inflating their roster, because at this point you have like 5 or 6 Stings. This is all about Daniel Bryan, so you have like 5 or 6 Daniel Bryans, including Bryan Danielson, the American Dragon. You've got Bray Wyatt and Bray Wyatt 14 from 2014. So you've got Bray Wyatt. Yeah, you got Bray Wyatt, Harper and Rowan. Harper and Rowan are the Bludgeon Brothers. They have the Bludgeon Brothers gear on. They also have Luke Harper and Eric Rowan as the Wyatt family. So I'm like, why can't that just be alternate attire? Why does it have to be a whole other character?
I hate that. That's been one of my biggest problems is the glut of people to scroll through when you're trying to get somewhere.
Right.
Yeah, it's they made it a little easier at least to go through the roster. When you choose a character, you can choose male, female, cruiserweight, DLC, custom, champion. So you can do that sub menu first before you jump into the main thing, or just go all and just scroll. But the commentary is actually still it's still wrestling commentary, but it feels more natural. Like, Corey and Byron and Michael Cole, they're talking during the entrance, they're reacting to what's happening on the screen a little more. They do repeat themselves a lot, but at least it flows more naturally than it has before. So I feel like this is going in the right direction. It's a good wrestling game. I will say that it's a good wrestling game.
I wish there was a way to turn off Michael Cole and Byron. And just leave Corey.
They finally made it where you can turn them down and keep JoJo up, so you can have the commentary team and the ring announcer separate now.
Oh, nice.
Oh, okay.
As opposed to before.
Sure.
The 20 download limit still exists.
Ha!
Interesting.
And I don't know why. I don't understand. I'm sure the answer is business, servers, money, business. I don't care. Not enough.
I don't get that. It shouldn't be on their end how many you're downloading. All that it matters is how much space do you have. Because all of the characters are still uploaded to their servers. It doesn't matter.
Right. It's just what are you downloading?
I guess the only thing that I can think of is maybe they are trying to discourage people from downloading a bunch of them, or trying to encourage people to be more selective. I don't know. That's a weird thing to do.
I don't know.
Is it easier to get virtual currency? I felt like the amount you got, like, let's just say you had a 4.5-star match on the last year's game. You just gave it your all. You get rolled up 1, 2, 3. That's great, and you get like 12 VC for that. I thought it was always a little stingy because you're not gonna. And I appreciated that the game was actually more likely to beat me sometimes, because for a while there the game got so easy.
Sure.
To just dominate. So, but I did think that they were really stingy with the VC, because I'm a big fan of chipping away and trying to get everybody the old-fashioned way. And
you're one of those.
I still don't have the entire available roster on WWE 2K18.
Yeah.
Like there's still people I haven't gotten yet.
I get the accelerator every year just so I can just say pay to win. Yeah. No, it's like
maybe that's why they do that, is to get me to buy the accelerator.
Exactly.
It's $5. I just go, okay, fine, whatever. I'll do that. And
I didn't pre-order this year, so I'm probably gonna have to get the season pass, because I didn't pre-order. So there's a lot of things I will want to get.
Right. So since I got the special edition, I got to play early, and I got the Woo edition, which gave me like Ric Flair and Dusty Rhodes '85. And
wait, do you have the Ric Flair Funko Pop?
No, I didn't get a physical. I got digital.
No, but you didn't get didn't the Woo edition come with the Funko Pop?
If you bought a physical, you did.
Ah, shit.
I just got a PSN.
I was gonna give you I was gonna try to pay you for the entire thing for it.
I really want that
Funko Pop.
And I got so I have the season pass, which will include EC3, Ricochet, War Raiders. I still want to call them War Machine, but it's War Raiders. A couple of women. I forget what women are in there. I think Toni Storm is in there. I forget, but
yeah, that'd be cool if she is.
I thought it was, but I could be wrong.
Speak up about my girl.
I want Trent Seven and Tommaso Ciampa. That's all I need.
Ciampa is not in the game.
Ciampa's not in the game. I think it was part of. I heard it's part of his NXT contract. Why he's not in the game?
Wasn't he in the game last year?
He was.
Yeah, but he's the current champ on NXT.
But was he injured during this time? I wonder.
Well, wait though. Do you remember last year? Almas was the champ, and he wasn't in the game.
That's true.
Yeah. But anyway. Anywho, it got me everything. So I bought the accelerator and the My Player Kickstart, all that stuff. So I was ready to go with everything day one, because I don't want to play. But yeah, for like a 4.5, 5-star match, you can get 100, 150.
That sounds more reasonable.
Yeah, it's I obviously when I started with the My Player Kickstart, I think you get 30,000 out of the gate. Just for playing the game, you get 30,000 out of the gate, and then I think with the My Player Kickstart, I got an extra 20,000, so I have over 50,000.
Sure.
And I'm not going to spend any money on this game anymore. I spent my $90. I'm done. And it feels like it should not be a problem just because I'm going to play it a lot, and everything you do gets you VC. Even if you win or lose, no matter what, you'll get VC. And I think I'll play a good chunk of this. So.
Okay.
No, I'm enjoying it. Like I streamed 4 hours of this last night over at twitch.tv/JeffRoth. Once again. I will say they added the Wyatt compound as a backstage brawl area. It sucks.
Huh.
It's about as good as the House of Horrors match.
It's all just it's the house, it's the front yard, and there's cars around it. I know you can do a car finisher, but it's nothing special. It makes me long for the days of SmackDown 2 and all that backstage stuff and the showers and the garage and here comes the pain. We go into Times Square. It's just, I miss that stuff. But yeah, Wyatt compound. It's there. It's not good.
Sort of like that match.
Yeah.
So in that sense, it was true to life.
Yeah, it's pretty true to life. But no, it's actually it's a good wrestling game, and is it the best wrestling game of the year? No, that's Fire Pro Wrestling World. But 2K19 is actually a good wrestling game, and I'm gonna play more of it. I might stream more of that tonight. So.
Well, excellent.
Any questions? Any questions? Yes, takers. Yes.
I was just go on.
Kind of a question segue.
Yes.
What do you prefer, simulation or more arcade style?
I prefer arcade style.
Okay.
Gentlemen, we can talk 2K19 for a while, and if you have questions, please ask. But let's talk about some of our favorite memories of wrestling games, because there are plenty of wrestling games out there.
Okay.
Let's discuss the wrestling games that made us who we are today.
Oh,
Dustin,
man.
you're the guest. Go ahead and throw one out there. But, I mean, the Aki games are obviously going to be our top ones. You know, No Mercy, WrestleMania 2000.
Well, those still is Thunder.
Well, no, I've actually got. I'm going to go deep cut here.
WCW Thunder.
Let's go deep cut. Here we go.
I liked WWF Raw from the Sega Genesis. I loved the you had Yokozuna and Doink the Clown. They had the weapons, the bag of salt. Doink had the giant shoe, I believe it was. There was a lot of really fun. For me as a kid growing up, that's probably the one I logged the most hours on as an early kid. And then I do remember really, really enjoying Warzone.
Wait, are you talking Raw or are you talking WrestleMania the arcade game?
Both? Weren't they both? Well, I could be thinking of both of them, perhaps. It was on Sega.
They're both on Sega, because Raw was the one that's kind of a 2D, and WrestleMania was the one that's kind of like Mortal Kombat.
I think it was the more 2D one then, because I had like Mabel and like King Mabel and a bunch of those guys.
That would have been Raw.
There you go.
I'm like hunting for it because I've got one of those Sega emulator like little. I don't know what they're called, but I'm looking right at it. But it's basically a Sega that's preloaded with like 100 games.
Oh, sure.
And I bought the Lion King cartridge for it, which I've been playing a lot. But I want to get that WWF Raw game. But Here Comes the Pain is probably my favorite. I'm going to be honest. Like I love No Mercy and all that, but Here Comes the Pain was so much fun. It had Ultimate Dragon on it too, and I remember absolutely demolishing my friends in college with Ultimate Dragon every night. Just absolutely.
It was the speed of it, just how fast it was, how smooth it was, you know, how dumb it was, you know, going backstage and going Times Square, just that really embraced what makes wrestling for us.
And that one, not only the speed, because the speed of that one, it wasn't that it was so fast. It was just that it felt just maybe a little bit quicker than real life, but it felt just natural. It felt like that one just worked really well. Like you didn't have to be like twitch fast, like, or oh my goodness, if I didn't hit the button fast enough, I'm not gonna hit this, back body drop, or it's not slow and sloggy either. It was that game I've got a lot of fond memories of as well, and I just feel like of all the wrestling games, that one just had a good balance of that arcadey and simulation feel.
Sure.
You know, was Here Comes the Pain? Was that the one that in the career mode or whatever it was that you could add the hearts and everything as well, like the health or whatever? Is that was it that one?
Boy.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
I can't recall. I just remember that Brock Lesnar could beat everybody.
Yep. He had that clothesline, that strong strike where he would just flex and then he'd hit you, and you knew it was coming, but you just couldn't block it.
That was nuts.
Yep.
That was nuts.
I got to throw some love in there too. And you guys can probably help me a little bit with remembering. I think it was WrestleMania, the arcade game. I remember going to the arcade a lot when I was a kid and dumping quarters in to be like the Natural Disasters and Hawk and Animal and the Demolition. Yeah, WrestleFest. Yes.
WrestleFest.
Yeah, that was. I would love if there was one arcade cabinet I could get my hands on today. It would be that game. Like I would love to have that.
Yeah.
You know, you might check every year, twice a year at the at Adventureland. They have an arcade auction.
Oh.
Yeah. Yep. So you might check there. They will have it on that Saturday after Thanksgiving. Will be the next one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's bad. That's bad news. That's bad timing. That I could.
But here's the beautiful thing. I've gone to several of these now. The auction will start like at 10 o'clock, but you get up early. You get there about 8 o'clock, and for the first 2 hours, everything on the floor is on free play. Yes, that is the thing. That is the best Saturday. Yeah,
you got me. I'm there.
All right, but you might find a WrestleFest arcade game there. I'm just saying. I've seen some WWF games from back in the day for sale. So there's a chance.
I also should shout out with the Nintendo Switch Online. I've been playing a lot of pro wrestling, and Starman, my boy Starman, back in action again after 25 years.
Yep.
Wouldn't it be great if they did like a renewed version of that, or like Saturday Night Slam Masters?
God, give me that game! Oh God! Oh, don't do that to me. That game is so good.
How would
Who wants to go next?
How would you redo Saturday Night Slam Masters?
Oh, you
mark it around the Bullet Club.
There you go.
Oh, there we go.
You bring Cody in because not Cody Rhodes, but Cody, Final Fight Cody, because Mike Hagar could be the commissioner. He's old, he's retired, not mayor of Metro City anymore.
Right.
So here comes the new Mayor Cody coming in.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like the idea of building it around the Bullet Club, though. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like they could support their own video game. I think there's enough traction for them right now that they could do a video game.
Also, if you're in any of the chats, YouTube, Twitch, or Mixer, if you got some wrestling games you want to throw some love to, shout out in chat, and we'll discuss them. Who wants to throw one out there next?
I'll just throw one briefly out there.
Sure.
The first wrestling game that I ever played, and the game that got me into professional wrestling, was the atrocious WWF Royal Rumble for the Super NES.
Yeah.
I just remember it was so bad of a game. It was one of those games where it's like no matter what you do, you can't really get very good at it. It's always just predispositioned to screw you over because it's such a bad game. So it was because of how bad it was, though, that my friend Bill, who actually owned the game, we would sit there and talk about, well, gosh, if we were making a wrestling game, we would do this and this and this.
Yep.
And it was because of that I actually started watching wrestling, because I was like, you know what? If I want some ideas on this, so I actually have to watch the product, because I wasn't a wrestling fan playing it. It was just something to play at a friend's house. So anyway.
Those were LJN games. That's what they were bad.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
But it's through that terrible game that I became a fan of this terrible art form.
Well, I'm glad that despite LJN's best efforts, you became a wrestling fan.
Right.
Justin, you want to throw one out there?
I'll throw two, one obvious, one not so obvious. So while we all could go towards the obvious ones that we talked about back in the N64, the one that I actually played the most, even more so than No Mercy, was WCW versus NWO Revenge.
All right.
I played the crap out of that game.
For sure.
My cousins and so I didn't own a Nintendo 64 at first, and part of that was just what I owned other things. So my parents were like, well, I'm not going to buy you another game console. Like, you already have one. You don't need another one. So my cousin had gotten one, and we played, and we would stay up all night, like to 6, 7 in the morning, just creating our own like NWO factions. Like, okay, because you could change the color of the attire back then,
right?
On the predispositioned wrestlers. So we would like put our names in a hat, and we draw, and that was we would essentially do a fantasy draft. So then whoever got first pick, of course, always picked Goldberg because he was OP back in the day.
He was the most over guy outside of Steve Austin. He was the most over guy in WCW for sure. He was the most over
and because essentially he was so overpowered in that game, whoever picked first got him. But then we would go from there, and so everybody got a different like NWO. Like I was always NWO pink and black. That was me every single time.
Okay.
And I would always have like Bret Hart on my roster. You could unlock, if you guys remember Mortis, you could unlock him in the game.
Yep.
I would always try to draft him. If he wasn't my first pick, I always got him just because you had to do something. I can't remember exactly what you had to, but you had to do something, and it wasn't the easiest thing in the world, but you had to do something different to unlock him. It wasn't like the easiest. Like, you just didn't have to play through the game and you got him or whatever. There was something to it.
I know Wrath was that way. If you had a expansion pack,
yes,
and you unlocked Wrath, which at that point he was a unfinished character. Like he was broken.
We didn't have Wrath because we didn't have an expansion pack, but so we played so much of that game. We always enjoyed the blocky characters coming out in front of the giant pumpkin or whatever, for Halloween Havoc, or the different Starcade, and leading up to the different storylines. Now, granted, No Mercy kind of took over and was the more popular and more fun game. I get that, but we played so much. I put so many hours into WCW versus NWO Revenge, and we played World Tour as well before that, but Revenge was just obviously the better game of the two. And then the other one that I'll throw out, and I actually would like to go into my Xbox library and see how many hours I put into this game, but I spent a ton of time playing WWE All-Stars.
Oh yeah! So good.
Love that game.
And it was so fun, and it was so good. I remember actually being good enough to play it online, and to whoop people over and over and over. And I was very trolly, and the only reason was because I picked The Miz every time.
Oh my gosh.
And I won 90% of the time with The Miz.
That's like picking Dan in Street Fighter 4.
Well, and that's the thing, is like he was just a good character. Like he was a good wrestler in the game. And I always enjoyed All-Stars, because when All-Stars was first announced, I was like, oh, we're getting an arcadey, like, kind of not necessarily No Mercy-esque game, but like that over the top, like dudes are just all jacked up on steroids looking, like everybody's massive. But then they played that whole like then versus now, so the Big Show versus Andre the Giant.
Yep.
Kind of, rivalry that you had those different matches that you could play in the game or whatever, and I always enjoyed it. I mean, it wasn't the best wrestling game ever, but man, did I put a lot of time into that, and I thought it was really fun, and I would really like to see them do something with an arcadey game like that to give us something different from that simulation style. So, but when they released 2K19 and had the big head and the zombie and the block characters and doing the more arcadey stuff, it makes you wonder if how they're going to spin it going forward, or if they're going to have it go like have a mode that's more arcadey-esque.
Sure.
So that was a game that I would like to throw out.
I also like that Legends of WrestleMania game that came out around that same time.
Yeah, that was around 2K.
Oh yeah, that wasn't a WWE game. It was just
Right.
Legends of Wrestling. That's what it was called.
There was that, but there was a Legend of WrestleMania.
Oh, okay.
Because there was that game that was basically the same engine as WWE 12, I think it was. And I remember you could import the characters from that into the THQ game.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
Right.
But it was a collection of older, kind of what you're talking about, Dave, because there were 3 of those Legends of Wrestling games. There was the 1, 2, and then Showdown. But there was a Legends of WrestleMania, which THQ did.
Yeah,
Okay.
it had like
Coincided
Greg
with-
Valentine. It had like tons of like Tito
Yes.
Santana. It was just really cool at that point to play as a lot of those wrestlers that we hadn't had an opportunity to. But
Right,
now
right.
they jam this game with Legends to
Right.
a fault. Like
Right.
I don't really find myself playing with the Legends very often.
Sure. I'll throw a few out there. I spent so much time in the SmackDown 2 story mode. The SmackDown 2 career mode it just kept going. And it was just random stuff happening all the time. And that's how you unlocked the characters and the creative parts and everything. And that was fun. That's probably my second favorite SmackDown game besides Here Comes the Pain. I'm gonna throw. Obviously I love Fire Pro Wrestling World. I think that game is great. Everyone should buy it and play it on PC. If you're gonna choose, go PC. The New Japan DLC just came out for it, so you can get the story mode and that story mode is dumb and fantastic.
So for people who may not have ever looked at Fire Pro Wrestling because they've just been playing WWE 2K forever, preach a little bit, evangelize what makes Fire Pro Wrestling so special. Because to me it looks kind of slow, looks kind of sluggish actually when I see people playing it.
Sure. Fire Pro is a series that has, primarily been a Japanese-only thing. We've seen it here in the States on the Game Boy Advance. We saw a PS2 release, and there have been plenty on the Super Famicom over in Japan. But now with Fire Pro Wrestling World on PC and PS4 is kind of the first major release besides returns on PS2. It's 2D, it's isometric view. It's so easy to create characters that and especially with the PC version, Steam Workshop, hit a couple buttons, you have like 1,000 people in your roster. It's just simple pick and play. It's timing, it's technical, it's not just button mashy and go, and it's not reversal based either, which the 2K games has always been. You better get reversals down to have a chance. It's not like that in Fire Pro. The emphasis is more on putting on a good match as opposed to winning all the time. It's all timing based. You grapple animation, hit a button, you do a move, and some of the moves they put in there are ridiculous. Like some of the moves they put in that game, you can't actually do in real life. Like it realizes that Japanese wrestling is more dumb, and they embrace that, and that's what makes this game
DDT Pro. Like that's a quick shout out to DDT Pro Wrestling out of Japan. If you've never seen it, it is dumb wrestling, but it's amazing. You want to see Kota Ibushi have a match with an inflatable wrestling doll? Watch DDT Pro.
Jim Cornette specifically says that I do not want to see that. Here's this mother in there in the wrestling ring, and he's wrestling an inflatable doll, and I'm just like, get out of the ring. Something like that.
Double cheese, double mayo. And a big hook of Fire Pro is the customization. Making your creative rings and your wrestlers and how in depth you can go and how many you can get in there. Right now on PC, you're limited by your hard drive space. There's no limit on characters as far as there's 100 characters you can have in 2K. You can do a bajillion on your PC if your hard drive can handle it. It's really and of course now it's licensed with New Japan, so they have that going for as well. So if people have never played Fire Pro Wrestling World PC PS4, get it. Another one I want to throw out there that we haven't discussed, Def Jam Vendetta.
Hey,
yeah.
Another Aki style game. I played on the game. I think it's only on the GameCube.
Well,
But yeah, it was kind of the Aki style game with rappers like Method Man, Redman, Ghostface Killah, the RZA, and all that. It was dumb.
Yeah,
it was dumb.
I know a lot of people gravitated towards Def Jam Fight for New York.
That game's awesome.
Which was the sequel and still was a wrestling-esque game. I actually, while just in town this past week, I had been notified that somebody, because I'm trying to complete my GameCube collection, that somebody had traded in a very large GameCube collection at JCD and Hobby. Mm-hmm. So I stopped in and they had a copy of Fight for New York for $49.99.
Yeah, that game's expensive.
I couldn't pull the trigger, but man, it was good. So fun to play back in the day.
Yeah. I just want a couple more there. I want to throw out AAA Heroes Del Ring, kind of the AAA game. That was more fun than it deserved to be. Being a luchador and learning about the Rudos and the Techno. I think it's Technos. Tech 9.
Technico.
These sound like ancient gods. Let me teach you, son, about the Rudos and the Technicos.
The Rudos are the heels, and I believe, and the Technicos are the faces. Also, the TNA Impact game was better than it had a right to be.
Okay.
I like it. Okay.
I don't remember that game very well, so okay.
I like going obscure. I like the Ultimate Muscle wrestling game. I like going obscure.
I was glad that you gave the Def Jam game some love because I actually had that written down or typed in all my notes on the phone. I was like, man, but do we classify that under wrestling? But I'm glad you went that obscure that you put that in there because that was I enjoyed that one. What would be? I don't want to go like end on a sour note or anything, but what would you guys would say would be like maybe like 1, 2, 3, whatever of your like least favorite or worst wrestling games that you did sink some time into or did play?
All right, Dustin, go for it.
Oof. Probably 2K16, 2K15 rank up there. I got really frustrated with those. There was a WCW game that was not. So there's Revenge and Versus the World. There was one other one that was really terrible. Was it? Did you bring it up? The Backstage Assault, was that it?
That game's terrible. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there was a line of WCW games that had button combos you had to input, like triangle, circle, triangle. If you're playing PlayStation,
that was Nitro and Thunder.
Nitro, Thunder, right?
Thunder.
Those were
Thunder
games.
was terrible. Yes.
And those were, I think, the Nitro and Thunder, I think, were actually, they may have been THQ, but I remember Mayhem and Backstage Assault were EA.
Yeah. And there was a, I don't know. I really, though, I think that's it. 'Cause, I mean, most of the wrestling games I've played, I've enjoyed. I don't remember feeling very fondly about the ECW video game. But
yeah, they had a couple of Anarchy Rules and Hardcore Revolution. They were the Acclaim games, and they were, with WWF Attitude and Warzone, and I think they had a Royal Rumble game on the Dreamcast that I played. That was the same engine, the Acclaim engine, and yeah, those were very good games.
So yeah, there was Nitro, Thunder, Mayhem, Backstage Assault. Those are all those WCW games around that kind of same time, same kind of thing. WCW versus the World was pretty prior.
That game's
to
good.
those.
That game's good.
Yeah, that and NWO Revenge is good.
Yep. Versus the World was an original PlayStation game.
It was PS1. That game's good.
Yeah,
I gotta throw one thought out there that kind of popped into my head when we were talking about what games are good, and I think the reason I never put No Mercy up there is because I had one of the copies that deleted your save.
Oh,
and I never.
no.
So I never I got so frustrated redoing everything every month or two. I think that's why that game is awesome, but I don't think I hold it in the same regard as a lot of people do because I had that experience with it. And
get this guy a cartridge.
I couldn't get my parents to go get me a new copy because they're like, well, that copy works. I'm like, no, but it's not.
Right.
You don't understand.
Right.
Yeah, so I had that one too.
Wasn't there a backyard wrestling game at some
Yes.
point?
There were two of them.
No.
There were two of them.
Wow.
Yes. Backyard.
The cover featured the Insane Clown Posse.
That's
Yes.
not surprising.
One of them did, and then the other one had somebody jumping off a ladder or the top of a house onto a table or something like that, right?
The official game of CZW. No, I'm just kidding.
It makes sense considering Shaggy 2 Dope just tried to drop kick Fred Durst
I
on
was
stage.
just
Yes.
gonna
Saw that.
say that.
Glad that we
Yeah.
brought
Tried to
that
drop
up.
kick him and missed.
Yeah.
The best part was I don't think Fred Durst knew who he was.
How, how are these
Oh.
people like still functioning as parts of society? The Insane Clown Posse. Who's listening to them?
I was waiting for you saying Fred Durst. How is he still?
No, Fred Durst sucks. Yeah, but the Insane Clown. There's like Fred Durst is at this low level, like in the garbage disposal, and then at the very bottom of the garbage disposal, like maybe like the bits of crap that are stuck to the blades. That would be the Insane Clown Posse.
Hey, you could play as Fred Durst in is it SmackDown 3? Just bring it.
Could have been, yeah.
Might
And,
have been, yeah.
Wasn't there a GameCube game, Day of Reckoning?
Day of
Day of Reckoning. Those were okay. Those
Yeah.
were all right. The WrestleMania games on GameCube were not good.
I Day of Reckoning. I was gonna put that. That was one of my games that was kind of I was teetering on. Day of Reckoning had a decent single player experience, but like once you were done with that, I was like, I don't really.
WrestleMania 19 had a story mode where you basically you were Stephanie McMahon and you were hiring somebody to sabotage WrestleMania. So you had to like throw construction workers off of a building to kill them, and like go into a mall and deal with mall cops or something like that. It was stupid.
I missed the GM mode. That's one thing I
Yeah.
wish they would bring back is GM mode. That made some of those SmackDown versus Raw games really fun.
Yeah.
I don't think we talked a lot about those, but the GM mode was fantastic.
I think all those SmackDown games were really good up until like it became WWE 12 and 13. I'm like, okay, this is starting to get a little bad, and then it got real bad.
Although
They started relying on recreating past events. Like that stuff's never been a real like get for me. Like this year is a little different. I like the idea of incorporating Daniel Bryan's story into it, but
Right.
I don't need to replay Steve Austin's career.
Yeah.
I don't know these things like that. Like it just never did anything for me.
And the secret objectives, like you're in there, like you must do all these things to get the highest score. And one was question mark. Like, tell me what it is. I can't do it if I don't know. Like,
Right.
That's so asinine to me.
So yeah, then so they had the Backyard Wrestling 1 and 2, the ECW Hardcore Revolution with RVD on the cover.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
You know, those games weren't exactly the most fun to play.
Again,
what
I
about
think that was on the Acclaim engine, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Those
What
games
about-
were really
well,
bad.
Well,
Yes.
then we're gonna continue this. What about WWF In Your House?
Okay.
Was that for
let me-
Sega?
That was on Saturn and it was on PS1.
It was on quite a few things.
I don't think I
believe,
played
right?
that one.
It was the sequel to WrestleMania the arcade game.
Oh,
Yes.
bleh.
And it was much worse.
You had the superpowers. You know, like
Yeah. It was one of the first games that I got for my PS1, and I remember just being disappointed in what it was. It's not the worst game I've ever played.
Sure.
But it was, compared to my time with WrestleMania the arcade game, it was a big letdown.
Yeah.
But there were finishing moves. Like there was like, if you were Shawn Michaels and you won a match, you would drop the Heartbreak Hotel set onto the person you beat.
Yes.
Is that the one with the Undertaker had the tombstone? He hit you over the head with it?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I don't think I minded that game. I think I actually have good memories of that then.
I have good memories playing it, but when I just don't feel like because I played it a couple years ago and it obviously doesn't age extremely well. But yeah, I don't know that I feel like that was them trying to be like super arcadey, not the arcadey that we necessarily like. You know what I mean? Like that No Mercy.
Was that kind of like a fallout from like NFL Blitz, do you think? And the success those games had is why they thought they went that direction? Because that to me, that's what I always felt like. Those were like the WWF Blitz game, essentially.
Sure. Yeah.
That might have had an influence. I always thought that they were influenced by games like Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter and things like that.
Yeah.
Could have been, yeah. What and then the only other one, and this wasn't exactly a wrestling game, but there was that WWF like Twisted Metal game.
Yeah.
Crush Hour.
Oh
Crush
my
Hour,
gosh, I completely forgot about that.
Yep.
Wow.
I played that maybe a couple months ago.
Really?
Yeah, I still got my PS2 copy of that. It's a neat concept, but not a. I will defend it. I will defend it. It's a cool concept. Shut up. It's not a good game, but shut up. I like it.
So let's go ahead and go into wrap up mode. Everybody, I think, would agree that the WrestleMania 2000 and No Mercy are probably on everybody's top 1 and 2 lists.
And I would definitely put like Virtual Pro Wrestling 2. If you can find a version of that with the English translation, I would say play Virtual Pro Wrestling 2, because it is the epitome of Japanese wrestling at that time. Just screaming announcers and Stan Hansen throwing blind lariats at people, and it's a great time.
What system was that on?
64. I mean, it was only in Japan. It was N64 in Japan. But there are ways to play that still.
Sure.
And I have a bunch of mods. Like I have a mod for No Mercy that's Showdown 64. It's a bunch of the current day roster and old roster. I've got a version of SmackDown 2, which is a lot of the All Stars, like Macho Man and Hogan and all that stuff in there. So you can find ways of playing those games on modern things. But yeah, the Aki engine is still the supreme engine when it comes to wrestling games. And I wish that more games would either go that route or go early SmackDown route.
So I guess here's the closing question. What is it about those games that still stands up to the test of time? And what is it that games like WWE 2K19, what elements of the old Aki games can future 2K games incorporate to improve going forward into the future?
I will say accessibility and simplicity. I don't need all these meters. I don't need this new payback system. I don't need, signatures. And I don't need all these flashing lights and, moving sticks in directions and jamming buttons to do submissions. The thing about Aki games is that, you had your strong grapple and your weak grapple, and you knew how to do it. You hold the button or you don't hold the button. That's it. Like when you submit, it's either yes or no. Like the dice rolls and it says submit or no. It was super simple to pick up and play and have a good time with the Aki games. And I think going forward, 2K needs to embrace what makes wrestling so dumb and then take some of these mechanics and just say, no, let's just have fun as opposed to a super serious simulation. Let's just have fun with the game already.
I was just going to ask, would you keep things like skill trees and stuff like that?
Maybe not as many skill trees.
Okay.
Is there enough room for a simulations game and an arcade or a more simplified type on the market?
For sure. If 2K19 and All Stars 2 can exist on the same platform.
Yeah.
I mean, Fire Pro is basically an arcade style game because it's not simulation style. You can do some dumb stuff in it.
Right.
It's not like the arcade games or anything, but it's not like WrestleMania, the arcade game. But Fire Pro is a good example of, it's not too complex. It's, it's timing based, sure, but it's not meters and bars and buttons, and it's
funny thing was, back in the day, I always thought that WrestleMania 2000 and No Mercy, I always thought those were kind of simulations.
Oh yeah. Yeah. If you think about it, they back then they kind of were. I mean, for what they were simplified, but they were kind of a simulation style
of the times. I mean, the times of wrestling has changed too, and
right.
So the games have changed alongside it. It's more about the show, and back then it was more about, how much attitude can we have, and how gross can this look, and how sick can this look, and how many boobs can we have. And nowadays it's about presentation and
right. Looking as realistic as possible.
Yeah, the games have changed with the times of wrestling.
Right. I think the big thing I would answer would be just what the 2K games could take now is just they're missing the it factor, the fun factor. They're missing a fun factor that they may be trying to recapture that those games had back then. And maybe part of it was the accessibility because, like Jeff said, it wasn't extremely hard to get into. So I could sit down with my sister and she could play WCW versus NWO Revenge or No Mercy or WrestleMania 2000, where if I tried to have her sit down and play 2K19, it would be a nightmare.
Right.
For her.
Yeah.
That's how I feel with my son too. I have a 6-year-old, and I don't really play the game with him because there loses a bit of fun when I have to legitimately throw the match to try to play with him, just because I would love to go back to a day where a good button mashing could build a game between me and him.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
But look, we'll kind of wrap this up with I'm playing 2K19. I like it. It's not
good.
It's got a ways to go, but I feel like 2K is finally steering the ship in the right direction.
Good.
And I like what I've played so far. Okay.
Well, there it is.
That
was an awkward end.
Okay, fine.
Podcast shut down.
Dustin, as our esteemed guest, first of all, thank you so much for stopping by and giving us your time.
Thank you for having me.
I will. The floor is yours, my friend. Go ahead and sell some merch and get your stuff out there. Get your stuff in, as they say.
Godfather yourself.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram. My name is Smohawk, and then all the social media for my podcast and stuff is on Twitter at PW Mothership and at No Coast Nerd. And we're on Instagram with the Mothership at PW Mothership, and then we're on Facebook as well with both Pro Wrestling Mothership, No Coast Nerd. Search those and you can find that. ProWrestlingMothership.com is our website. We do podcast about everything. I mean, we have a buddy of mine, Darnell, does the Queer Nerds podcast, which is wrestling from the perspective of a queer person of color. So there's a lot of diversity on the network. There's also
Darnell is awesome. Darnell, shout out to Darnell. He is the most well-dressed person I know, and I swear, at some point, I'm going to have him find me a wardrobe.
Yes, well, we need to get him to Iowa sometime soon. That's the key here. But I'll shout him out. Follow him on Twitter if you like sassiness at DNLicious. And then, like I said, make sure if you're into pro wrestling, I do the Capital Wrestling podcast every week on Thursday. That's on the El Toro's podcast network. You can find that by searching Capital Wrestling. I do the Wrestling Revolver podcast as well. You can go to collarandelbowbrand.com right now and use promo code Mothership, and you'll save 10% on your order. We also have a TeePublic store. So search Pro Wrestling Mothership. There's links on our website as well, because the web address is really wonky. It's like tpublic.com/users/Pro Wrestling Iowa, because they won't let me change it. So just go to the website. We'll get you there. And then we also have an Amazon store set up as well with some other stuff you can go buy on there and help support the network and all that. But just thank you for having me. It's been fun, and hope to do it again.
We also have a NerdBacon store if you want to buy your special NerdBacon t-shirt. The website is on the bottom of the stream. Streamlabs.com/NerdBacon/#/merch. We'll get a link to it at some point. I'm sure. You can buy
isn't it?
Your nerd is right on the tongue. Right on the tongue. It's like the Roman Reigns promo.
Catchy.
Justin, go ahead and where can people find Justin?
So you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, both those. You just search for Level Up Justin, all one word. I am kind of going to be doing a little more with NerdBacon on the social media, so I can help with. You'll basically be able to hear a little more from me. So if you follow at nerd_bacon on Twitter. Yeah. Nerd_bacon. I'll be doing a little more on there and on the Facebook pages. So I'll give a shout out to those, because I'll be kind of heading the social media aspects of those. But if I stream, I'm going to be getting back into streaming. As you can see, things are set up and looks a little bit nicer now. I'll be streaming. I'll be at Level Up Justin on Mixer, and then I'll be also streaming on NerdBacon. So if you follow NerdBacon on any of those, so Twitch, NerdBacon, twitch.tv/NerdBacon, mixer.com/NerdBacon, or YouTube, search NerdBacon. Any of those you can find me at, but essentially if you want to find me, just search Level Up Justin. You'll find me somewhere.
Dave the Watchman.
All right, you can find my work.
Wrong!
You can find my work right here at NerdBacon.com. You can find me on Twitter at Dave the Watchman.
Oh, and you can find me on Twitter at Jefferoth, JEPHEROTH, and at twitch.tv/Jefferoth. I stream usually 3 to 4 times a week, including maybe tonight, playing some more WWE 2K19. From all of us at NerdBacon, I am Jefferoff.
And I'm Dave the Watchman.
And I'm Level Up Justin.
And that was Dustin Smothers, our special guest.
Yay!
Don't forget to come back here same time, same bacon time, same bacon channel, right here on Twitch, on Mixer, on YouTube, and all your audio formats. Until next week, game tasty, y'all, and have a good night.